Will you commit to a revised process of regulatory reform that involves farm businesses and the food industry in the development, delivery, and review of regulations?
Well, we're all about community decision making. We don't believe we're basically a party that supports individuals and communities. We're not a party that supports big corporations, big government, or big labor. So absolutely, anything that we can organize on the community level, we're all in favor of. We want to come up with community plans and community structures to make the food system more viable. And also, in the case of all businesses, we want to cut through the red tape. We don't believe in the one-size-fits-all regulations that past governments have imposed. A lot of regulations are designed to deal with major multinational corporations, and they're simply put obstacles in the way of small business owners or family farmers who are trying to compete on that level. So absolutely, my answer is yes.
Well, it's a very good question, and certainly we in the Ontario PC Party agree that red tape should be cut at the provincial level. We certainly believe that the Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs should be the single window of contact, that farmers shouldn't have to go to multiple ministries to cut through the red tape. They should be able to deal with the ministry, and that should be your entry point. So we believe things should be changed and streamlined, that be your one window to deal with. As well, we're going to appoint a minister that's solely responsible for cutting red tape. And in Change Book, our plan is to provide a minimum of 30% regulatory cuts with special emphasis on agriculture and small business. And if they don't meet those targets, then all the members of cabinet would have their pay down. Because we think it's something people have told us, farmers have told us, that they're tired of all the hoops that they have to jump through and all the regulations that they have to deal with. This would be two ways that would help solve that.
You know, we hear this word a lot, regulation, red tape. Red tape is what keeps the public believing that the food is safe. They're the regulations. Who here would want the public to believe that the food that you produce isn't safe? It's actually, there's those rules and regulations that are in place. They've been put there over the generations through trial and error a lot, but to ensure that people believe in the safety of the food, and that you can believe in the quality and the safety of the materials that you purchase to bring onto your farm. That's what regulations do. Now, in some cases, I'll be the first to admit, some regulations need to be reformed, but what you also need is a government that works with you. Not a government that says, I'm going to slash red tape, but at the same time, as a result of Walkerton, they slam you with huge and very costly and a number of large hoops to jump through to try to maintain water safety. Your wetlands and all that, that's a growth out of Walkerton, where over 2,000 people died. And that's because the people involved weren't allowed to be properly trained. So red tape is not always a bad thing. And we need to really review what it is we're cutting before we decide that it's not worth keeping.
Well, I can tell you what I won't do. To reduce red tape, I won't create more red tape. Creating a bureaucracy to eliminate a bureaucracy is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. What I would do, and I wouldn't penalize the workers either, is I would go to the employers or to the employees of our government. Everybody that works in any ministry knows where there's places that we can improve and we can cut costs. Give them a bonus, a percentage of everything that they save us. You may shake your head and think it's silly, but I've already done this in business. And I saw in one corporation a $7 million savings in 1 year, in one company. It can be done, and it's not by creating more red tape to get rid of red tape.
Question. Many farm families rely on income from off of the farm to make a living these days. What, if anything, is your party prepared to do to ensure 21st century farmers can make a decent living on the farm?
It's a great question, and I think from an do everything we can to promote innovation and income from the family farm. I mentioned in my opening remarks that we've got a great resource here at Grenville College, and I think we need to use every tool we have at that university to provide innovation that can be applied on the farm and that can provide a new income into farmers' hands. One of the things that I was involved in was a homegrown initiative with the United Counties and local mayors on an economic development strategy where we brought people from all sectors in, from the agriculture sector, to look at options. I think one thing that the Ontario government needs to do, it needs to lead by example. It needs to ensure that our hospitals and our schools use local produce. We need to show Ontario business that the Ontario government wants local products, and we need, as I said, to lead by example. We need to show people that our food is primary for us at our schools, at our institutions. I had an order paper question about this a couple of months ago, just because it concerned me so much, that we need, as an Ontario government, to show people that we're leaders in this.
Farmers nowadays make a quarter, in real terms, a quarter of what they made in 1940 per unit of production. Whether that's beef, whether that's any kind of cash crop, it's a quarter in real terms after adjustment for inflation. So what we need to do, if you're going to actually aid farmers and give them the opportunity to work farm full time and not have to work on the farm, is that you've got to ensure that they can get a good return on the produce you sell. And you get a good return by supply management. That's the best way to do it. You band together, you market together, and you need local arbitrars, you need local egg grading, and local markets, so that people can come directly to you and buy the produce, because that's the way you'll make the most. There'll be no middlemen then. And it also helps anchor your communities, because those will create jobs within your communities. Those jobs will bring young families to your communities, and those will help anchor your public schools. It will anchor your general stores, the post office. That's how you keep and maintain a local community. And you also allow farmers other ways to make money, and that's through green energy. I mean, there's an enormous potential there for you guys to make some real returns on your money on marginal land. You should be allowed to do that. The Conservatives are going to stop you from doing that. As a matter of fact,
when you're trying to make money on a farm today, the most important thing is knowing what you're going to get for your product. The banks will tell you when you go for a loan, what are you worth? You have 100 head of cattle, but you don't know what they're worth. This is for the beef farmers especially. Putting in a risk management program will protect the farmers, will give them a basis to work from, and give them stability in their farms that will allow them to succeed. The other thing is, we've all got kids. We're worried about the next generation. And it costs a fortune for daycare. We can't work out. We have to work on the farm, whichever way it has to go. Daycare for our kids costs a fortune. We have put in the first program for all-day kindergarten to help offset the cost of babysitting. You have to have all these supports. Another thing that's going on, we're going to promote your products. We're going to promote your products worldwide as the best, the tastiest, and the safest there is. We've already started that by investing $80 million in programming to support the Ontario Foods First program. We're taking care of you, and we're going to make sure that family farm doesn't die.
So how to help family farmers make an income, earn a living in a minute and a half. We've got a 70-page platform online, and I suggest you all check it out. It's at www.gpo.ca. I will say, though, that our platform's been up since May, and it's very gratifying to see some of the other parties have been reading it. And that's basically why we're here as the Green Party, to put forward new ideas and have the other parties fill them. But we are definitely, we were talking about creating local markets. We absolutely support that. It's in the platform. Atlas is another thing that I'm really excited about, because that way you can make your entire property pay for you, even if there's land that you can't actually use for farming per se. And of course, green energy is also going to be a great income earner in our new 21st century green economy, and we hope that everybody takes advantage of that. Oh, and most importantly, last but not least, we're going to actually lower your income tax. We're the only party that's going to lower your income tax. You'll have more money in your pocket. You'll be able to focus on farming and not worry about working a second job.
One of the speakers mentioned that the bureaucracy was incurring a lot of costs. I actually think that some of the Crown corporations, particularly the Ontario Power Authority, the Ontario Energy Board, the Electric Safety Authority, and Hydro One itself, are getting in the way. They receive directives from the government in power, whether it's Liberal or Tory, and they deliberately disobey these instructions. So I think some of the big Crown corporations in this province have gone rogue. My recommendation to Mr. Crichton, who's the leader of our Green Party, was that we should try and get rid of the top 2 tiers and allow the really smart scientists and thinkers within these crowns to run them, rather than some politically placed from a previous party, very elderly people on the boards of these agencies run them. So the view is that the crowns are the big problem in this province, rather than the civil servants in each of the ministries. Thank you.
I'm not sure what the question was, but I tend to agree to a certain degree about Crown corporations. Certainly, they've been run to the extent that the people that thought they get these huge paychecks, they're political appointees. They often come and go within a couple of months or even a couple of years, and they take a huge pension with them. They get, and that's one thing that we are addressing in the NDP is, which the other parties aren't, is that the CEO pay across the board is just way out of control. It's absolutely out of control. It's out of control in the public service. We propose that no one in running any of these agencies make more than the Premier does. I think that's pretty reasonable. And that'll save tens of millions of dollars that we can put into frontline healthcare, frontline education. A lot of really positive things we could do with that money instead of spending it needlessly on these overpriced people. Thank you.
The Crown corporations, the comment about the Crown corporations, I think you're right in a lot of cases. A prime example is Ontario Hydro, which became Ontario Power Generation. For years and years, government by government, they mismanaged things to the point where we are now, where there is a massive debt that we're trying to pay down. Had that been grabbed years and years ago, gotten control of, we wouldn't be in the mess that we are today and having to work hard to pay down that debt so our kids don't inherit it tomorrow. One easy way to do this, and you talked about some of them last a very short period of time, write into their contracts that there is no golden parachute. It's very simple. We do have to compensate in a way that allows us to get the best that the industry has to offer, but we don't have to multiply it by 4 when we hire. And we can make sure for sure that when they do leave, they leave without this golden parachute, because that's the most ridiculous part there is, that I've seen getting millions of dollars to leave a job.
It's a very, well, not very well kept secret, I suppose, that there's all manner of problems with governance in this province. If you scratch the very thin veneer of respectability, you'll see that the entire system is sick. It's rotten inside, and I think people all around the province understand that. That's why when we have a debate about a really interesting and integral area for this community, agriculture, we get a turnout of 40 or 50 people. This room should be overflowing and bursting at the seams with people who are passionate and excited about opportunities, about change and things that can help them. But it's not. People sort of go, well, ho-hum, I guess I should go see what they have to say and then I'll make my check. Yeah, no, we need to empower people. For too long, for the last 2 decades, we've had 3 parties that have alternated in power. It's like having 3 sets of soiled sheets that you just rotate. It's laundry day. We need to get them out. We need new ideas. We need a new way of doing government. And one of those ways is we're going to empower individuals. We're going to empower communities. We're not going to have civil service and bureaucrats telling people how to run their lives.
Well, in terms of agency boards and committees, I want to make 2 comments. First, on the OPA, which was a transitional agency. I think it had about 15 employees. Now it's up over 250. Many of them are in the sunshine list. So that just shows to the root of what we're talking about. We're going to bring all 600, over 600, I think it's 630 agency boards and commissions before the legislature, before a committee, and it's going to be very simple. If they work, they're going to stay. If they're broken and able to be fixed, they'll be fixed. And if they provide no meaningful benefit to the people of Ontario, they're going to be gone. And I think that's the type of look that you need with some of these agencies. The OPA is one example of something that started very small for a very specific purpose, and now it's totally out of control. And it has, it's one of the leaders, I think, percentage-wise, in the Sunshine List. It's got a tremendous amount of people making over $100,000 a year. It's ridiculous. So we're going to bring the agencies in, and they're going to have to justify their existence, plain and simple.
It seems to me that one of the biggest things that we need to look at is our air, our water, and our food. And I don't think we're doing a very good job from anything that's been set up here at the table tonight. Would you like to throw away 40% of your food right now? And that's going to happen if something isn't done fairly soon with the beekeepers of the nation. What do you consider doing in that? The other thing is in the power. There's many power locations been shut down over the years because of determination that they were more easily be controlled. They could be turned right on, and you could have a lot of pretty free power flowing very quickly if we just decided to open up some of these old stations that were shut down over the years.
I agree. I don't want to see us throw away 40% of our food. We need to grow more food, and it's not just for our own consumption. Look at the consumption that's needed worldwide. Canada can be a leader in that, making sure that there are kids not starving in other countries. I know firsthand. I traveled to the country of Belarus. I saw what the radiation did from the Chernobyl nuclear reactor. I adopted my children from there and brought them home. I saw land that doesn't work. We need to reclaim the land. Some of the old mills and stuff we may be able to reclaim, get going, and do some of those things. That'd be great too. But we need to make sure that we're using our land effectively and cleanly to make sure that our air is clean, that our water is clean, and our food is perfect. Because it's our kids. The heck with us. It's our kids that are eating this. And we have to make sure that they are getting it perfectly.
Yeah, the question with the bees, that's one that I've encountered before. Apparently there's a big crisis in the bee population, and bees obviously are what we need to fertilize and pollinate basically everything that we eat. So without bees, there's no food. How do we make sure that the bee population is able to continue carrying on the tasks that they do for us? We've got to cut back on pesticides. There's a reason why the bees are dying. Pesticides kill animals. They're going to kill the animals that are harmful, but they're also going to kill the animals that are beneficial, and in large enough doses they can kill people as well. I mean, Leeds Grenville has one of the highest lung cancer rates in the province. I'm not saying that it's caused by pesticides, but I don't think it helps if you walk around breathing it all the time. As for energy, yeah, green energy. There are plants around the province that are lying fallow, and hopefully we can get those up and running if they're environmentally sustainable. What we need to do is make sure that there's community ownership. We need to make sure that communities are not only excited about it, that they're involved in the procedure, that they're involved in the decision making, and that they get the check at the end of the day. That the check doesn't go to Samsung, and that we don't give a monopoly to a foreign multinational corporation to make all the money off of our energy production.
Thanks for the questions. First of all, I think we need to definitely give the farmers the tools to do the job. And I think, when you're talking about environmental stewardship, I have to compliment our local farmers on their environmental stewardship. As I said in my opening remarks, I've been at the AGMs for the Leeds and the Grenville OFA, and there's been some great stories locally. Kim Sitzma, where she's behind me. So she was honored for her and Charlie were honored for their environmental stewardship. So I agree. We need to give our farmers a pat on the back for their environmental stewardship. In terms of the bee industry, certainly they haven't been as active as some of the other sectors with business risk management. So I do think we need to take a step back and meet with them to talk about what we can do to foster that business, because certainly I know people that produce honey in Leeds Grenville, and we need to support that industry as well, because it is a very vital industry to our agri-food business. And finally, with the stations, I agree. We need to, as I said earlier, we need to pursue affordable energy sources that are open and transparent. So I think we need to look at all of those options moving forward. We're committed to closing the coal plants by 2014, just as we've closed the first one. So we're on track as well. Thank you.
Start with old power. Ontario Hydro, actually my brother works for Ontario Hydro. He works in the power generation down at Cornwall, and they've been refurbishing a lot of the old power stations throughout the area here and upgrading them so that they're more efficient and stuff. I think we should investigate further into that to see if there are other opportunities where we can create power. Of course, one of them is green energy, and green energy seems to be hitting a kind of a wall here because the Conservatives are saying they're going to scrap the program. So that's hurting jobs in rural Ontario. As far as throwing away 40% of our food, well, it takes 500 years to grow, actually for 1 inch of topsoil to actually mature on a farm. And that's an investment that family farms are very, very, very keen and very aware of. And as most family farms are multi-generational, they're not going to, you guys aren't going to exploit that soil to the point where it's degraded and you can't raise crops. I mean, you're natural stewards for the land. I mean, no one needs to tell you the value of that topsoil. That's your goal, the topsoil on your farm, and you guys look after that. You know, so what we would do is help you maintain that topsoil. And as far as bees, it's not just pesticides. It's monoculture in general. Beehives have to be exposed to a variety of plants. And